Hey, check this out. Check this out. Welcome back, people. Dominic here. You see that handsome face there that I just had on screen now? That's Teggy right there, people. Welcome to another show, The Dirty, where we talk about all the nasty stuff surrounding parental alienation. Today I've got Teggy, and this amazing dad actually went through everything, but I'm not going to give any spoilers. And sorry for how I look. I've been, yo, I must say, thank you for the response, guys. We've got interviews back to back for the entire week. When I say back to back, it's every evening at 7. But it looks like I'm going to have to do like 3 interviews a day the way they're coming in now. So help me welcome Teggy. Now, Teggy, just a quick background if you haven't read the description yet. Teggy's been alienated from his child 6 years. They had the most beautiful relationship, couldn't get this lady off of his hip when he was braaiing, just to throw in the charcoal and put some blitz in the braai stand. But today, Teggy is going to hopefully um, bring some light to this whole situation, because for the first time we've got somewhat of a success story here. Help me welcome Teggy. Welcome back,
Hello,
bro.
hello, hello.
Welcome
Hi,
back.
Tom. How you doing? Can you hear
Good
me
and
clearly?
yourself, man. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you clearly, and I see your new cap today. I like your new hat, man. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, man. I'm trying to rotate them, but it looks like I'm gonna have to get more. I'm actually branding them with a pain logo.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, 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 yeah. We need to get that done. So just before we start off, we've got 3 viewers online. We're not going to wait for people to come on. They'll watch the replay if so. But if you are joining us live, please do share this stream with anyone, any parent that you know is going through alienation. If you don't know what alienation is, it's practically where a child is being restricted access from another parent by one parent, and various tactics are used. Coercion, which means that the child is actually told to say some things, uh,
Yeah,
whether it be just tacitly implied, whether they're just suggesting that the child should say that, or sometimes it's straight up under threat. So, parental alienation has been recognized across the world as abuse, child abuse, and we just bringing awareness to this in South Africa, because a lot of, and what I've discovered today actually, Tegi, is that some parents actually don't know that they are abusing their children, and that is
sure.
scary. So,
Very scary. Very scary.
yeah. So, I'm gonna jump straight into it, Tegi. So,
Sure,
in your case, in your case, when did the alienation start?
sure. Dom, I would say almost immediately. It since the separation. So what happened was, obviously the separation took place, and it had to go through the divorce procedure. But there's two legs of it, which I'm sure most people know. One is the how do I speak the assets or the financial side of the split, and the
Yeah,
other side
dividing the house
is
and the car and all that. Yeah.
all those type of things and whatever bank balances you guys had or whatever. And what I've and now this is just my story. I'm not saying this is the gospel or whatever. This is my history in terms of what transpired. Was the fact that I think generally what takes precedence is the financial aspect first. Unfortunately, I think everyone goes and goes through that direction and
Mm-hmm.
fixes that element because everybody would like to go on with their lives and say, okay, you take this, I take that, whatever the case may be. So that part or that aspect of the court proceedings was a little bit easier, I would say, than the actual custody of the minor child.
Right.
That's when it actually got complicated because in all honesty, I think it probably took about 6 months for, obviously with different court dates and all the rest of it, to get a financial split done, which was quite quick and easy. But then with regards to the custody battle, sure, that's just went on without any close date. So long and short, if I had waited to do both simultaneously, I would have never been divorced. And
Okay,
you
okay.
and I both know that how that works. The more you accrue, and it's not only about the financial stuff. If you don't get divorced for 7 years, whatever you're accruing for that 7 years still forms part and parcel of the estate. Sorry, carry on, Tom.
No, cool, cool. I Teggy, I've got a bunch of questions lined up for you here because I do know the background of your story,
Sure,
and I just
sure,
want to get the most important, out there. Um,
yeah, sure.
the signs. Did you see any signs of this, parental alienation coming on before it actually happened?
Oh, to be quite
Could you
honest with
have
you, no,
predicted it? Not.
no,
It just
no, and
blindsided you.
and it blindsided me, and I think you and I spoke off the record. I think the other day. At the time when it was happening, I didn't know what parental alienation was. I mean, I only found out later on what it really was. But at that stage, when I was going through it, I didn't know there was such a word that actually existed. Now I'm talking 12 years ago, right? 12 years ago. So, um, to answer your question, I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming. One thing that I did tell you guys, or tell you on Sunday when we spoke, was when the divorce process did take place.
Yeah.
What was mentioned to me, and obviously I took it with a pinch of salt, was the fact that you won't see your son after this, and I laughed it
Is
off,
that is
and I
that is
think
that is that what you were told? Like she told you to your face, you will never see your
yeah,
child again.
you walk out of here, and one thing that's for sure, you'll never see your son again. And I honestly laughed it off. I promise you, I saw it as the biggest joke under the sun. I'm like, who do you think you are? I mean, I was so naive and wet behind the ears, I would say at that time. And lo and behold, it took me 6 years, and that's how long it actually took for me to actually get to see my son fully without anyone sitting on my shoulders and any sort of case managers and what do you call those people, social workers and all of those people.
Family
It's
advocates
hard.
and yeah.
You name it. I mean, the cost was just unbelievable. But sorry, you had some questions, so go ahead with your next
No,
one.
no, 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 no. Absolutely, we've got time. We've got time. At this point, I just wanna speak to the viewers quickly. If you are recently divorced, all right, this part speaks to you. You know, when you get married, there's those different phases, and I mean, Teggy does
Mm.
divorce counseling as well at church, right, Teggy?
Yeah, I do it at church. It's a program called Divorce Care. So,
Yeah,
as mentioned to the team, I am registered within the church environment, but obviously not on a professional, any sort of
right.
council or anything like that. Yeah.
But um I mean, there's different stages in the marriage. You know, they say that there's that honeymoon phase. You know, everyone is deep in love, but then reality kicks in and life kicks in,
Yeah,
and soon you realize that there's actually responsibilities. There's a role that you need to play, and there's a role that your wife needs to play. um
sure.
just quickly, is there, if there's couples like freshly divorced, what advice would you give to them now? Let's say the couple divorced, they've got one kid or two kids split between, there's two kids out of the marriage,
Mm, mm,
and the kids are still young, under the age of 3. what
right.
type of what type of advice, just from your experience, just having gone through all of this, would you, if you were able to speak directly to the parents, what would you tell them right now?
That's a very, very good question, Dominic. And I think it's important to sit back and listen on both sides, males and females, I mean, mothers and fathers. The most important thing to remember when going through a divorce is that there's obviously going to be lots of emotion that's going to be boiling off. Either somebody did something to the other person, or the other. So it's perfectly natural for people to be feeling scorned, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And when people feel scorned, whether you male or female, the natural human behavior is to want to retaliate and hurt the next party. And generally, um, the best way to do so is through the children. Okay. And if I can make a plea out there, whoever's listening here right now, is when you're going through this divorce, everyone's adults by the time we have kids, right? Whatever the age you might be, once you're able to have a child, you're an adult, simple as can be. Your feelings should be put aside, and you should put the children or the child itself as priority, because ultimately that child was created through love. Okay. And as a mother or as a father, the only thing, your only role that you have, or responsibility, is to grow up a child that's going to go into this world whole and complete. You don't want to bring a child into this world, whatever age they might be, broken, because
Yeah.
broken people are just going to cause carnage in the world. Brokenness just causes so much of issues in adulthood. So the
It's
advice that
more
I'd
hate.
like to
It's
give,
more. It's like you just putting hate out into the world. Like, do you intentionally want to have your child programmed to hate and destroy?
spot on. And I think you mentioned the other
Comment
day.
below. Comment below if you do. Sorry,
Sorry, Dom,
sorry about that.
you
Yeah,
you mentioned the other day. I think we're going a bit deep though when I say this. You said generation curses, right? And
yeah,
with generation curses, sometimes your spouse, or the female or the male, comes from a house that was, so to speak, broken, meaning a divorced home. So it's almost natural for them to say, okay, it happened to me, it can happen to my children. Look at me, I never turned
I
out that
came out
bad.
fine. Yeah,
you know the truth be told is that you can always break those generation curses and sure and say, listen, I'm going to be different from my mom and dad. I'm going to be, or you might have come from a house where there was no divorce, like myself. I was one of them, fortunately enough. And now all of a sudden, I had to go this down this route. So to answer your question is, if the two consenting adults can sit down together and say, look, whatever issues we've had in the past, let's just put it aside and let's take the best interest of the child at heart. And me, I'm of the opinion, and I might not be, many people might not agree with me, maybe because of the fact that I've done it.
yeah,
I don't think there should be any specific age group that a father is entitled to have his or her their child to be staying with them. So
absolutely.
you mentioned something at a certain age group. I don't identify with that type of thinking. I feel that if you're man enough to create and have a child, you should be man enough to look after that child, irrespective of that age of that child. So if the
And
child
look,
is under 3, go ahead.
yeah, sorry to. I just want to jump in there before I forget.
Yeah,
Um, Instinctually, when a child is born, there's changes that happens to a mother and a father's brain.
of course.
There's this thing in society where they think the woman only bonds with the child, and it's not so. It's been proven. Science has proven that the father actually, there's a chemical change that happen. Oh, I don't know. Again, I don't. This is not. I'm not a scientist or anything, but just from the research, from the reading that I'm doing,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's why a father feels the way they feel. They feel that despair, that grief, that loss, that dying inside. And if you don't know, there are parents committing suicide every day. So this is no joke, people. This is real. If
No,
you don't know now, you know.
no, spot on.
So yeah, if you if you spot this, it's time for everyone to kind of like become whistleblowers and become aware. We understand if you didn't know about it, but you kind of have no excuse when you do. Once you found out about it, and you're like, you, that light bulb moment goes off, then you have a responsibility to humanity just to say something.
Yeah, and Dominic, if you don't mind, based on Sunday's discussion that you and I had, I think you mentioned something about your situation, um, where there was an uncle or some sort of your ex spouse that mention to you something along the lines of, why should
Not
I
his
get involved?
business.
It's
Yeah.
not his business. And
Mm.
those are the type of people that should hold themselves accountable, because ultimately, friends and family, elders of the family, uh, male, female,
Should
aunt,
step
uncle,
in.
doesn't matter who, you step in, you say, listen, I know you're my niece, or I know you're my nephew, but I mean, ultimately, what I see you doing here is wrong.
Yeah.
You might not like what I'm about to say to you, but what you're doing is wrong, because
Oh, like
ultimately you need.
light a
Go ahead.
joint and light a joint and will come around the corner and point you out. Yeah, you dacha smoker and all of that. But
Yeah, yeah.
destroy a family and alienate the child, and it's like it's not my business. It's
No, of
strange.
course, and like you mentioned, I mean, chemically, as soon as you have a child, male and female, there's a lot of changes that goes through your bodies and, brain, or whatever the case may be. Like you said, we're not qualified
Yeah.
psychologists and stuff here, but the reality of it all is that when you have that connection with that child, um, it's a lifelong connection.
It's not
Um,
something you can
uh,
walk away from.
it's not something you can go buy yourself a Ferrari or McLaren or whatever sort of expensive car you want to, go fly around the whole world if you wish to. But that
Is that
emptiness and that.
is that something that you did, Teggy? Did you find yourself like spending sporadically, buying yourself nice things to try and replace that feeling of loss?
How do I answer that question? So I don't think we went
Be
deep
honest.
down inside in terms of my history, but so let me fast forward a bit. So what I did, and it's something that I wanted to speak later on in the program about, is, and I'm not trying to sound like I know it all. The reality of it all is, when you go through a divorce, and I only know this in hindsight now, you need at least 2 to 3 years to recover. What I mean
Right.
by that is, you cannot go into a relationship, or you shouldn't go into a relationship for at least 2 to 3 years thereafter. And it's not for
Why is
any
that?
other reason. The reason for that is that you need to heal. Number one. Number two, sometimes because of the fact that you have not emotionally dealt with a lot of stuff, specifically whether it's legal stuff, whether it's psychological stuff, you're vulnerable, very, very vulnerable at that stage. And
And
sometimes,
do you make informed decisions when you're vulnerable?
obviously, that is the case. You don't make informed decisions. You make decisions. I know it's a family show. I was going to say you're not thinking correctly, but I was going to say something else, but I can't say
No,
it
no.
now.
Say it's the dirty man. It's the dirty. That's the name of the show.
you,
The
you,
dirty.
you,
Say it.
you're man. You're not thinking with the right brain. Let's put it
Brain.
that way.
Yeah,
You're
with
not.
the right head.
Yeah. I was trying not to say that word, but yeah. You.
Hit,
Thanks for that,
hit,
Dominic. So you
hit the
don't.
like
So
button if you agree.
so you're not you're not you're not able to make those decisions, uh, good decisions. So every I strongly believe everything that happens in life happens for a reason. So I don't have any regrets. So to answer your original question in terms of whether I did all of those things, I never had the opportunity to, because
Right.
fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, I met
Mm.
someone very soon after that divorce
Ah,
period. And sure, all I can say to you is that I'm a veteran of two divorces now.
okay.
So I've got two kids with two different people, and both those marriages turned out to be it turned out into divorce. So that's why I said to you that studies have shown that you need to at least have 2 to 3 years to heal before you can make any sort of decisions in terms of going back into a relationship. But obviously, out there, people are different. But this is basically from some of the studies that's been done. So
Now,
Dom, sorry to disappoint
take
you.
you.
I would never bother
You never bought
McLarens.
the. Aish. All right. But okay, obviously, what I was getting to at that is that nothing can really replace that loss of
Oh,
the child. So yeah,
oh, of course.
that's what I wanted to establish. Did you try replacing it? You know, that emptiness with that, but you didn't even have the time to. And I'm a marketer, Teggy. So just let me know if I need to. Maybe third time lucky. I don't know what. How's
Eh,
your feeling now?
no, brother, please, brother, please. All I can say to you is, how do I say this bluntly? I've been divorced, separated now for approximately 6 years now. I think six
Yeah.
to seven. I must just do the maths. This is the
Happily
second time now.
divorced.
Happily divorced and separated. And all I can say to you, wow, man, I don't know why I haven't done this earlier in my life. Honestly, it's
Right.
amazing. I stay with my son. He stays with me full time, and I get to see my daughter every second weekend, every fortnightly. And I get to see her on a midweek visit. And like now, right now, holidays, we split it evenly, 50-50. So right now she's here at home, in her room. So I get the best of,
Let's go back in time here quickly, Teggy. So,
yeah,
as far as I know, you've told me that you were separated from your son at the age of 6. It was you were
yeah,
told you're not going to see your child again.
yeah,
Um,
correct.
why do you think? Why do you think the alienation took place? Just an assumption. If you were to kind of try to figure out why one parent would keep the child away from another parent, why do you just your opinion, man?
My opinion in my case, and
Hmm.
obviously I'm not talking on behalf of everyone else out there. My case specifically, it was purely because of out of spite, and it's all purely because of the fact that at that stage, remember, as I mentioned to you before, I didn't take long before I met somebody else. Okay,
Right.
so
So there was
the
jealousy.
mindset. I think, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. The jealousy element came out there, and the element of, yeah, you obviously had this person while we were in the divorce, or while we were
Oh,
still through the separation. And I didn't have time for all of that pettiness, to be quite honest with you. And maybe I come across abruptly when I say this, or how do I say, without emotions. But
it's the dirty, man. It's the dirty. Be
the
you.
reality is, the reality is, that's separate. Whether whoever did what, whoever said what, whatever transpired, it's got nothing to do with the child. And that's why you asked me the question, if I had to give any young couple advice right now, irrespective of what the male did, or irrespective of what the female did, no one cares. It's not important. And I'm not condoning whatever the person might or might have not done. What I'm saying is,
Right.
the most important thing is the child itself.
Yeah.
So to answer your question in terms of why the alienation happened, in my opinion, I think that was the root cause. And not to go into too much detail, because for obvious reasons, my
Yeah.
my ex did have a psychological issue, that I was trying to show within the courts. And that's where I'm disappointed. I'm more disappointed with the fact that, with all the proof that I had, I just got slapped left, right, and center. And we spoke about it on Sunday, whereby those court orders just didn't mean anything. Those, whatever you have that gets issued out to the courts, because of the fact that it doesn't mean anything if you go there to the police station and say, okay, listen, I need to see my son or my daughter, whatever the case may be. It's just a piece of paper, and no one's able to assist you. And that's kind of what brought me. Go ahead, Dom.
Sorry, you said you said your ex was diagnosed with a personality disorder.
Yeah, yeah,
What disorder is this?
sure. I'm going to open up a big can of worms now if this comes out.
Eh,
But
yeah. If you're comfortable with it, if not, it's cool. Either way.
the issue is, how do I say this? I've got my son here now full time with me, and I've put those things to bed.
Okay.
But
Understood.
to be
Understood.
on, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, I'm gonna say it, and whatever happens, happens. She was diagnosed with something called schizophrenia,
What
and
is
that was
schizophrenia?
schizophrenia is basically a personality disorder. Um, and not to go into exact detail, but basically, in a
Behaviors
nutshell,
like,
if it's allows you to, if you have a manic episode, you're basically able to do a lot of harm. uh,
right?
and and if you do it during that manic episode, you're technically not, how do I say this without using the wrong words, you're not responsible for it, because you did it through that manic episode. I don't know if I'm making sense in what I'm
So
saying to you.
what does a manic episode mean? Is it do they have like illusions?
Yeah. So you
Is that
have like an illusion, something that's not real. So you can watch a
right?
movie, and maybe you're watching Cops and Robbers or something, and then you'll think that whatever that movie is, it's actually happening in real life, and it's a scary thing to go through, man. It's a scary thing to go through. And I thought,
Oh, so
based on
you
the
get to
fact
sleep
that,
with one eye open.
I kid you not. I kid you not. I kid you not. I mean, if I have family members that and this is the what's very important. I had lots of families support. However, this is also very critical, which was my mistake. During the divorce, I didn't, or sorry, I say during the marriage, I didn't open up enough to people within the family circles to let them know that there were issues that I was experiencing. Maybe it was due to the fact that I didn't want to burden anyone with my issues. You know, my late mother always used to say, you make your bed, you lie in it, type of thing.
Yeah,
However, when, so to speak, when things were really, really um, at the end of it, I had to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak,
yeah,
and the family support I got was unbelievable, overwhelming. I mean, I need to really, take my hat off for pretty much most of them, but especially my eldest sister. You know, um, she's one of those people that just stood by me and gave the support that I did need at that stage, especially from an emotional perspective. And that really got me through the whole experience of, as you said, you have to sleep with one eye open. I kid you not, that's what actually really happened.
so how do you think and listen, I'm not laughing at it because it's funny, people. Mental illness is a real thing in South Africa. I'm laughing for the
Yeah,
fact that we so scared to talk about it. We're so scared to identify it, and we practically in denial. But there's people
yeah,
we see every day that look normal, that act normal, and that I wouldn't even say, church people will say they've got the dark side. There's a demon that needs to be expelled, but it crosses over to science as well, where there's part of the brain that just doesn't function properly. And again, this is not a medical show. So if there are any psychologists who would like to interject at some point in time, please comment, and I'll show the comments up on screen if you'd like to give your expert opinion. I'm always inviting, and no experts come onto the show. Are you scared I'm gonna ask you uncomfortable questions? Let's leave that at that. So do you how do you think you could have avoided all this?
so how do I answer that question? The reality of it all is that I was dealing with somebody, firstly, with and I mean this with respect, with a mental disorder, and
Yeah,
I was dealing with somebody that was conned by the fact that the divorce took place. So so it was a double whammy for me, so to speak, in the court of law. So she basically made it very, very difficult throughout the whole process. That's the reason why on Sunday, I know I'm kind of giving it away a little bit here by what I'm saying.
yeah,
I said I have got a positive story to say to everyone, but it was almost as if I won through an offside goal. In terms of soccer, it wasn't
yeah,
something that I won through the normal process of
yeah.
the court system. And to answer your question, how could I have avoided this? The reality of it all, in this is going to probably sound more horrible, but if I had not gone through with the divorce, I would have probably I probably would have seen my son, uh, and I wouldn't have had to go through that process of not seeing him for that period. But remember what I said to you earlier: everything happens for a reason. And
Yeah,
had I not done that, I wouldn't have had my daughter today. So it
right.
says positives and negatives in. Oops, sorry, I just dropped my phone.
No problem.
There's positives and negatives in every aspect of life. So the long and short of answering your question is that the only way to have avoided it was to stay married, and that's not something that I was prepared to do.
What was your relationship like before you were alienated? How was your relationship with your son? Am I right by saying that you were only alienated from your son?
Yeah. Well, when you say I was alienated, I was alienated as well as my entire family, right? So he was
Yes, yes,
completely
yes.
taken away from from everybody within the family circle. So in terms of if I phoned the mom, she just won't answer the phone. Obviously,
Right.
he was too small to have a phone of his own, so I couldn't get him one. But she just wouldn't answer the calls if I phoned him at night. If I tried wishing him for his birthday, she wouldn't answer the phone. I wouldn't have even known which school he went to if I didn't get an invoice from the school itself to say I owe school fees. you know.
Right.
So uh, it was completely like a light bulb switch. You go there and you switch the light off, gone. You
Yeah.
know, you don't
Wow.
exist type of thing. And
Six
that
years,
was and
six
I
years in his life, and then just poof, just
gone.
accept it.
And you said to me, did I have an opportunity to go and try my best to buy things or do things to fill the gap? The reality is that you don't do those things intentionally, but I mean, you try to do things to how do I say, to push yourself to get your mind off things. Like I used to consume myself in work a lot in work. But the reality of it all, there wasn't a single day, a single night that I went to bed without praying and pleading to God if I can get an opportunity to see my son again. And
Hmm.
that pain and that emptiness was just, sure, it's unbelievable. The bearing, you just can't bear the pain. You have a child out there, a part of you that's just there, and you just don't see that person again. And you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, and it's strange. It's strange that some women say just get on with it, move on with your life. But here's the question. Here's the
Right.
question. If it were done to you, if the man just took your children away, kept you away with a whole lot of court orders and stuff, would you be able to also just say, okay, I'll just carry on with my life. Let me make more children. It doesn't work that way. We know women that's alienated from their children as well. It's impossible to break that bond unless you didn't have the bond to start with, and that means that your brain isn't functioning properly. It
Yeah.
still comes down
Yeah.
to mental health, man. If people don't form a bond with a child that that they have birthed, then there's something wrong. It's not normal. That's what I'm saying. Again, I'm no neurologist, I'm no psychologist, but come on, man. We're not dumb as well. There's logic. There's logic. Um, so you say, what was just give us your relationship up until the age of 6, from birth to 6 years old with your son. How was that relationship? And sorry, before you continue, Tege, I just want to give the viewers, Bernardus, I see your question there. We will open up for Q&A at the end of the show, so please don't hesitate to comment, put your questions through, and I'll show them up on screen once we're done. I think that it might just go on too long or we might just break the flow if we bring them up in between. But please ask your questions. I'll show them up on. We'll do a 15-minute Q&A at the end. But yeah, Teggy, go ahead. How was your relationship, or what was your relationship like before you were alienated?
Sure. How do I say this? Unbelievable. I mean, it was my first child, my first son. We had a special bond. We did. I mean, I did all the typical stuff that normal fathers do. In terms of feeding, changing napkins. Those typical type of things.
Yeah,
And I mean, and we spoke again, I think, on Sunday as well, you and I, and even on air we spoke about it, about the fact that even if I did braais or whatever at home, that kid was literally next to me on my hip type of thing.
yeah.
He was crazy about soccer at that stage. Now ironically he's a rugby player. Shockingly, which Indian guy plays rugby, I don't know, but anyway, that's my son.
Hey, the world's
uh
changed.
the world's changed, yeah. So he used to be crazy about soccer. So as soon as I put a Bryce stand out, we'll go outside and we'll kick the ball. All he used to say, ball, ball. That's all he used to say.
Bob.
Those are the type of words.
Yeah,
And so to answer your question, the connection and the relationship that we had was unbelievable. Just I would say like almost typical father son relationship, and he was extremely close to me, and that what actually worried me the most, the fact that, this person that I was with had this mental condition, and it scared me, the fact that she had it. And I got no issues with people that has these type of conditions, but she just refused to acknowledge it, and I feared for my son's life, and myself at that stage, and that was kind of part and parcel of the reason of me going through the divorce. So for her to have just taking him out of my life, so to speak, on the one side was just unbelievably painful, but on the other side, I feared for him. I really feared for him, and that's the part that disappoints me about the process that I went through. And it's too late for me. It's too late for me because, I mean, my son's now 18, and the damage has already been done, so to speak. But what upsets me is the fact that this type of practices are still continuing in this day and age. And the one thing that I'd like to make very clear on this program is the fact that the reality with alienation, it can happen with males doing it to females, right? And I know it's a very small percentage of that, but the majority of it in South Africa, and I might be wrong by what I'm saying, it's predominantly females alienating males from their children. And the reality is that you cannot have a complete child out there that's going to go into this world if the child doesn't have the love from both the mom and the dad. If you think you're going to just out of spite hurt the dad or hurt your ex partner by keeping the child away, understand something very clearly. You're actually hurting your child more than anything else, because that child is just growing up with that emptiness inside of them. And we have no idea, like you said, you and I, Dom, are not experts here in terms of what's the psychological effects of that in the long run.
Yeah, but we have identified, and I mean, there's tons of research on YouTube. If you're watching this right now and you're a little bit confused, please do educate yourself. We try to, as much as possible, from experiences of parents here. But I mean, just type in parental alienation and watch a couple of videos, and it wouldn't take you long to start thinking, oh my goodness, my friend is going through this, my neighbor is going through this. It's
Yeah,
happening all around us, and it's socially acceptable. That is scary in itself. Tegi, we know all the tactics being used. One of them is being falsely accused of various things. Have you been falsely
yeah.
accused?
Yeah, I have, and it's a funny story to tell you, but I'm willing to share it on air.
Yeah,
It is a funny story, but I'm not mocking it. I'm just, now I find it funny, but in
yeah,
the court of law, it wasn't funny.
it wasn't.
My kid was, like I said, about 6 years old, and we're going through the entire process of the divorce. And like I told you, the first element of the divorce was somewhat easier. I'm talking about selling of the property and the financial aspects of stuff. So it so happened during that period, it was my weekend with him that time. And like I said, he was young, he was little, so I had people helping me move house from where we stayed. From, we had to move, obviously sell the property, so I had to move to another place altogether. And I
Yeah,
had my eldest brother help me move house, so to speak, right?
yeah,
And I remember that day, it was a Saturday, and I promise you, we were loading this little small bucky one way, a good couple trips to and fro of moving furniture. Long story short, we were tired, very very tired, on by the end of the night. So the new property that we moved to, we just dumped everything in the garage, right? So we never moved
yeah,
anything into the main house. So we said, we need to sleep tonight. What are we going to do? So we said, let's just set up one bed, one double bed, or whatever the case may be, in the lounge or the bedroom. I can't remember. And we all can just sleep in that bed together and get knocked out. We boys. So it's
yeah,
myself, my eldest brother, and my 6-year-old son.
yeah.
So we were, like I said, completely tired. We got something to eat, had a shower, slept, and that was it. We were done. Uh,
Right.
so I didn't see any harm in all of that. Believe it or not, when it came through the process of the false accusations, and this is something that's really not nice. She basically made my son sign an affidavit to say that, uh, I allowed him to sleep in the same bed with my new boyfriend, and
Holy shit!
he
And
signed.
wait,
Yeah, it was
that
not.
was you.
It was
That was your brother. You slept on the
that's
bed
what
as
my
boys.
eldest brother,
Oh
as
my!
boys do. You know, and obviously in the court of law, they had to see that there's something that's concerning. Why would I allow my son and my lover to sleep in the same bed together? Um, and I was like scratching my head, and I was trying to think to myself, what are they talking about? Because I couldn't even remember what they're talking about. You know, oh, what
This
are they talking?
boyfriend of
Then it,
yours.
yeah, and then when
Yeah.
I went back in time retrospectively to think now what weekend was that and what transpired. So the accusation it was made, and when I came up in court to say this actually, yes, it happened, but technically it was no lover of mine. That's what my eldest brother did, helped me move my house, and my kid was too small to understand it. That's his uncle. It was that was
Oh,
helping us move house.
oh,
So I'm laughing now,
wow.
but at that stage it
Wow.
was something
Well,
that
if you
I,
don't laugh about that, you cry or you'll be traumatized your your whole life,
yeah,
which you probably are from that still. You just don't
yeah,
know.
I am. No, you
Mm,
hitting the nail on the head, and again we're not professional psychologists and all the rest of it. I again I have to say this with a pinch of salt. The reality is that I will never ever be the same person I once was based on what I
yeah,
went through. But it's not about me now. I'm more concerned about what the damage has been done to my son. Um, and I'll never know about it just yet. I think time will only tell in terms of what the carnage could have been. And I think this is where people, the maliciousness needs to be, or the maturity levels needs to be a little bit better to say, you know what, let's
yeah,
just leave our issues aside. Let's think of the child itself, and let's do things for the best interest of the child, not the best interest of the dad, and not the best interest of the mom. The mom and dad, you guys are adults. We all adults, you know. But I mean,
yeah.
this child or the children in this marriage should be the priority in every single decision.
Do you, having gone through this, do you view parental alienation as abuse and why?
100%. I again, I say this is my opinion. This is not somebody else's thesis. I personally feel that parental alienation is one of the highest form of child abuse, and I don't want to categorize child abuse into level one, two, three, four. But
Yeah,
in my opinion, I think if there's a category one, where it's parental alienation for me, and not because I've gone through it only. It's because of the fact that people don't understand the abuse and the carnage that it causes to the said party. And you and I spoke about this on Sunday already. We're talking about mother, father, and child or children, right? But what about the rest of the family that's been alienated? You know, what about the aunts? What about the uncles? What about the cousins? And I told you the sad story on Sunday that both my mom and dad passed away in that 6 years without seeing my son. I mean, that's something that I can never get over. You know, I can never ever get um, that time back for him to actually be able to see his grandmother or grandfather again. And what do you think that can cause to a child? You know. So yes, to answer your question, um, I do view parental alienation as abuse. In my humblest opinion, I think it's abuse of the highest level.
in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion. It's robbing someone. It's holding their mind captive. It's. If you don't know, if you've been coerced, because what we're discovering is that there are some parents that don't know. They just want to get back at the other parent for whatever reason. But now you find professionals actually telling them, okay, no, just go and have them sign this report or this affidavit. So they are now told to do that. And I don't know if this is now to entrap the alienated parent into now spending money. In fact, in some cases, we've been told outright that that is what's happened. But that child is ruined for the rest of their life. The decisions that they make throughout their life is never. Well, I'd like to meet one alienated child that has grown up, that doesn't have some sort of effect to their mentality in terms of how they make decisions, the relationships they get involved in. And can do you think you can ever go back to normal again, Teggy?
To be honest with you, no. Uh, I know that time heals, everything. But you and you made a joke earlier, and you said, um, will I even be able to go into another relationship again in terms of serious marriage and those type of thing? And the honest answer is I can say I don't think so. I don't know if I can, and that's why I humbly say, can I go back to normal life again? No, I don't think. I think it's still going to take a long time, and I don't know how long that might be, because the trust element is there, as it's been broken, um, and it's not only about the financial aspects of the losses that I've endured over the last 14 plus years. It's the emotional aspect of it that's even worse, you know.
Yeah.
So the old saying is that time heals everything. So I must say I'm in a much better space than I was many years ago, in terms of where I am in terms of mindset and all the rest of it. But I think you called it a nice word. What do you call it the other day? Help me along, Dom. Post traumatic stress disorder, I think you call it. So
Yeah.
um, uh,
PTSD.
yeah. So I've also I probably had a lot of anger inside of myself for many years, and I just notice from time to time that it flares up quite a bit, and I
Yeah.
have to rein myself back in terms of that. Like you have to relearn mechanisms and ways of trying to calm yourself down, type of thing. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. Tell me, how do you feel towards your ex for having done this to you? Be honest.
Hey,
I
Dom,
know it's a tough
you
one.
you you really you really nailing me tonight, eh? So here's the thing. It's a bittersweet answer that I'm going to give you. And I know you know that I am Christian, so from a Christian perspective, we have to forgive and forget. The hurt and pain that she's caused, is something that's almost, and I need to say this with a pinch of salt, almost unforgivable. But I must also tell you that the reality of it all, if it wasn't for God, and this is my story and my perception of what transpired, talking through her family members, for her to allow me to see my son again, because remember I told you the way it worked is that I didn't win the case in the court of law. So
Right.
to answer your question, how do I feel about towards my ex? Um, I have I have forgiven her. This is very big for me to be able to say this on air. I have forgiven her, because I do understand that she did have a mental, or I think I'm saying the right thing, condition, in terms of what she did at the time that she did it. But I'm also quite thankful for her to be able to allow me the opportunity to get to reconnect with my son. And I know that I might sidetrack in terms of this, so my apology. This is my
No, no.
biggest gripe is the fact, thanks, Tom. This is my biggest gripe is that why did we have to allow another human to dictate whether or not we can see our children? They should have been determined in the court of law to say from the onset, you as a father, or you as a mother has got equal rights to that particular child, because the
That's
child
right.
belongs to both you and your ex. So yeah, I've given you a long answer to that.
No, no, that's
But yeah,
that's cool. I was hoping. Look, on this show, on this platform, Pain SA does not promote hate. I have
Yeah.
forgiven my ex, whether she knows it or not.
Well done on
And
you. Yeah.
whether she continues to do this or not, I will still forgive, because the forgiveness is not for her; it's for me. It hurts,
Oh,
but hopefully one day my child will see that's the way of life.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's hard, but revenge has its consequences as well.
Yeah.
Forgiveness actually gives you peace. So, viewers, I know it's hard out there. I mean, type your type your comments in there if you feel that it's worthwhile forgiving, or if you have hate in your heart still. Our advice is, and this is from both me and Teggy, is
Yeah.
you can't move on with your life if you haven't forgiven. That's one thing that you're giving power over your life to the alienating parent. So yeah, now I am giving advice. Just forgive. Eventually, then God sees everything. We Christian over here, whatever faith you in. I mean, I'm sure it's the basis of religion, all types of religion. All I know Muslims feel the same. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you.
Yeah.
I
Just to
wanted to
add,
ask you.
sorry, Dom,
Yeah, yeah,
before you move, just to add on that is that
yeah.
what you sow, you will reap, right? That's what I'd like to say.
That's it.
What you sow, you will reap, positive
Karma,
or negative.
karma, karma, like you said.
Sorry, you go ahead. Your next question, yeah.
No, no, no. Yeah, you said it the other day. Karma. I mean, the tables turn. And I mean, do we want to teach our kids to hate? Is that
No,
really the qualities we want to instill in them? Do not
no,
forgive. Someone says something bad to you, you cut them out, you fight with them. I mean, come on. Um, we going to go into the comments. I'm going to bring them up on screen. So we almost into Q&A, people. I want to ask Teggy the last the last question here is, what's your relationship like with your son today? What do you guys
sure.
do? How is it like? You've had him now for how many years? You've had him
6 years,
since
yeah, for the last 6
6 years
years. So
now. He's
yeah,
18, right?
since the
He's
age,
18.
he's 18. Yeah, I got him back at 12. So yeah,
Wow.
I lost him at 6. I got him at 12, and now he's 18. So
Hmm.
so to answer your question, and this is where the success story comes in, and this is something that I'd like to give all the thanks and the glory to God, is the fact that the relationship that I have with my son right now has been completely restored. I would never know the long
Hmm.
term effects of the emotional scarring um, that 6 years that he didn't see me or didn't have a relationship with me would have or could cause for him. Because I would never know, but only in time to come. But I'm confident that he's also getting healed based on what has transpired. So my relationship with him is, I would say, almost back to typical father son. He's big on PlayStation, online gaming, typical teenage stuff.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, he plays rugby. Where he gets it from, definitely not from me. But uh, you know, he's we're like two boys living together. It's now we like it's transitioned from father to son to almost like roommates, because you know
Right.
he's become a chef over the years. I think it's based on the fact that he was tired of eating my burnt food, so he decided he decided to he decided to cook on his own.
To school
So yeah,
himself. Yeah.
yeah, he said, "No, man, I can't continue to have this tasteless curry this guy's trying to make, or whatever he's trying to make." Yeah. So he somehow or the other has developed some skills in that element. So yeah, to answer your question, the relationship is great. Obviously, as I said to you, my biggest concern, and something that I'm still wary about, is that what sort of impact did it have on him?
Yeah.
But only time will tell. But in terms of myself and him, it's fantastic. It really is, and I'm so grateful, and I'm thankful that it is the case today. So yeah, there is hope for fathers out there, and that's what I would like to post on the last question: is the fact that no matter what happens, and something that we didn't speak about, Dominic, and this is very
Yeah,
critical, something that I
yeah,
just thought of right now.
yeah.
When the time came for him to see me again, that process, I did not. I'll never forget the day. It was at Cresta. We met at Cresta Center, Randburg, at Wimpy, and I went there. And all that I brought in the boot of my car was files and files and files of everything in terms of the court cases that I fought,
Yeah.
right? Because you must remember this kid was under the impression that I deserted him, right? I've left him, and I've moved on. I've had another child now, and I've obviously gotten married again and all the rest of it.
Do you think that's
So
what you
in
was
his
told by
mindset,
your ex? Sorry to break your word.
to be perfectly honest with you,
Yeah,
I would not know that, because my son is a guy that doesn't speak out of
right.
enough of his feelings. But
Yeah,
I'm almost certain that was definitely the case. So the day that I got to see him, on that day, I didn't say much. I didn't throw any stones towards my ex. I didn't mention anything, and I'll never forget. I had to have a trolley. I put all the files in a trolley, and I took the trolley to Wimpy with me, and we sat there outside, and I didn't open the files. I just showed him the files in the trolley. I said, I want you to
yeah,
remember your mommy sitting across the table. I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to cause any havoc. Only thing I want to let you know is that I've never ever deserted you. I've never ever
right.
walked away from you. And those files is all the proof that I have to show that I fought for you tooth and nail every single day of my life. And I think, in all honesty, I think when you saw that and you realized that I'm not fabricating anything, I'm not making things up. His
Right.
his, his dad actually fought for him.
Never
He
gave
looked at
up.
it, and I never gave up, so to speak. I think that it put a lot of faith back into him, and that's what the message of encouragement I'd like to give outside to the dads that's listening here today, is the fact that no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much of money, and I know it's not easy, I'm talking from experience, keep persevering, keep pushing, keep, keep trying, because at the end of the day, all you have is your son or your daughter or your kids' love that you're fighting for, to show them that one day when they do reunite with you, and that will happen, irrespective of the age. Unfortunately, we don't know when that transpires. Is the fact that you have that proof to say that I loved you, and I love you, and I will always love you, and here's the proof that I never gave up on wanting to see you. Sorry, Dominic, I digress there.
Not at all. Not at all, Teggy. Uh, I think it ties into the last question. Yeah. Any tips for the viewers during their lowest times of alienation? Because every one of us knows that there's highs and lows. We on a emotional roller coaster all the time. It could happen throughout the day. You wake up happy in the morning,
Mm,
and suddenly during the day you hit this dip. So during those
sure.
lowest times when we have those suicidal thoughts, when we just think like, what's the use, let me just give up on life, let me just give up on everything, what would you say to a dad or mom that's going through this?
That's an excellent question, Dominic. My advice to anyone that's going through parental alienation is to not keep your feelings bottled inside. Okay, as much as us as humans try to be strong and courageous and all the rest of it, especially I noticed that in the men folk, females are a little bit more easier in terms of showing their feelings out. Be vulnerable, allow yourself to be vulnerable, speak to people in your close circles, whether it's friends, family, uh, counselors, if you got any in your temples, churches, in the mosque, or any other religious groups that you might come from, affiliate yourself with. If not, I'm sure some dads has got medical aid. Go see a professional like a psychologist or whatever, and try your best to reconnect with things that you once loved. And I mean this honestly. When I mean, if you loved fishing, go fishing,
Yeah,
and take a buddy with you. If you love going to the gym, if you're a guy that loves, or lady that loves gymming, go hit the gym for an hour or whatever the case, you'll be amazed at the natural endorphins that comes out of you once you hit the gym. Go running. Just take on something over and above the fact that you're doing your normal day-to-day things like going to work and back, because I promise you, um, when your mind is so absorbed by this loss, this emptiness inside of you, it's like almost like a, I would call it like a cancer or something to that effect. It's just constantly eating at you. And if you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable, if you don't allow yourself to be able to open up and talk to people, it's gonna lead you to a path that you might not like, and that's where you find things like drug addiction and alcoholism or anything else, and possibly worst case scenario, suicide. So to answer your question is reach out, speak people, and if you don't, you've got pain essay now. I think this is something that I never had 12 years ago, to be able to come up and say, listen, there's fathers out there that has gone through this, that's going through this. Uh, you know, can so one of you guys give me a call? I'm really suffering. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family to be able to connect with. Do you mind giving me a call? And I'm sure, Dominic, you can arrange for one of us to give people calls and connect with them accordingly.
Well, as you can see, it's scrolling there at the bottom. If you're watching this show and you need to tell your story, I didn't want to break your word there, Teggy.
Sure.
Let's not forget we live in an age of technology. This is what social media is for. It is social
Yeah.
platform. This is a
Yeah.
social problem. It's
Yes.
not just for your happy times and your booty photos and you in your bikini and looking all good and all of that. Don't hide your pain. Don't hide your pain. There's so many people that go around putting a smile on their face, putting an act, and they're dying inside. Here's your platform. Come in. If no one's listening to you, we are. There are
Yeah.
thousands of, I would like to say millions of fathers and mothers going through this. And
Yeah.
the more of your story might not touch me, but it will touch 10 other people because there's something we resonate with in you. I just saw a guy on one of the posts. I can't remember which one, a live that we did. I saw a laughing face last night, and I'm like, what would you possibly be laughing at? And I clicked on it, and I saw this lady. And when I went through a post, she was downing this dad, making fun of him about like she actually said too early for tuck, too early for a tuck pipe or something like that. In fact,
Um.
I don't want to bring it up now because I haven't had his permission, but
Yeah.
he's gone live and I looked at a couple of his posts, and this guy writes so well, but he's writing about his pain, his boys being taken away from him. And then I continued scrolling down. You see this broken man, and when you scroll down on his profile, you see that this man was once whole. He had a
Mm.
happy life. He was at the airport, good looking, dressed to the T and all of that.
Sure.
And now the man is broken and you ridicule him. So if you're watching it, I'm not gonna name your name. You know who you are. I'm gonna make a special out of you. That's what we do here. There's no bullying. There's no bullying on social media. But if you want to do things in the dark, we can bring it to light very quickly. And that's the age we live in today. I want to encourage people to come
Yeah.
forward. Um, speak out, speak out to the public. Someone's
Yeah.
going to hear. Oh, strips without clothing. Oh, who's this? Okay, I'm not gonna show that comments up there. Sorry.
Oh my word.
uh,
Sure.
yeah. Anyways, someone watching on YouTube there, it seems. All right. So right now we're gonna open up for some questions if you have, or just if you'd like to give some words of encouragement. If you'd like to leave a comment, we open for some questions here. Not that this is a today wasn't about any Q&A. We're not here for advice. It was just Teggy telling his story, and hopefully you've gotten something out of it. It's encouraged you in some way to just keep going and know that we are here. Here's your platform. It's time to speak.
Yeah, great.
Um, Anything else you want to say there, Teggy?
No, no. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I just think. I think I never got to say this on Sunday because my connection dropped. I just think this is an amazing platform, and it's a pity we never had it. Us old guys 12 years ago. Now that younger folk like you have this type of platforms, I think it's fantastic, and I think the
Did
dads
you
out
just call
there
me
and
young? So
moms.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means I'm
Oh, of
doing
course,
something
man,
right
of
at
course.
least. So thank you,
Yeah,
thank
you
you.
definitely are young.
Yeah, thank you, man.
So yeah,
Thank
it's a
you.
great platform, and I'm grateful that the dads out there has this type of platform to be able to connect with and get the help that they require. So yeah, that I'd like to say as my closing comment.
I just want to give a shout out to the Zaid here, who has been an alienated child. He went from, like he says, he's been, is went from being an alienated child to being an alienated parent. His dad died 2 years ago, without him having an opportunity to repair that relationship. And I've heard this before. I've heard this so many times before. In fact, I myself was alienated from my father, not by my mother, but from by his wife, by my father's wife. Never allowed a relationship with me. He died, but at least, I was at his deathbed. I at least said goodbye to him, and I sent him off with forgiveness. I I don't know if he could hear me. He was in a coma at that time, but I did tell him, you know what, I forgive you. It's me. And funny enough, not funny, but I mean, I heard something like an hour after I left, he passed away. So yeah, um,
Sure.
it's
Wow.
it.
And I think Dom, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think that is something that's critical. And I said this in the very, very beginning when we started this whole interview, is
yeah.
that it's important for fathers out there to remember when you're going through this process of the
Hmm.
divorce or separation, or even with the baby mama. Sometimes you're not even married and you have the child. Give your time that break, that 2 to 3 years, to restore yourself before you go into another relationship, because this is scary. I'm not saying this for every woman out there, or men. Maybe it can also be men as well. Be careful who you're going to get into a relationship with, the next relationship, because the reality is that sometimes that new spouse, that new girlfriend, that new boyfriend of yours might not want you to see your child. And I would hate to be that father, to have to choose between staying in a relationship with somebody and choosing to stay to have a relationship with your child. And that's something that I
Yeah.
wouldn't wish upon anyone. And I'm sorry that Zaid had to go through that.
Thanks for your comment there, Zaid. Remember, again, if you need to tell your story, just type the word interview in the comments. I was earlier working on a chatbot just to automatically trigger and just grab the story, but I will be checking on that because I haven't tested it yet. Let me just be honest, I haven't tested it. I just put it out there. That's how we do it, guys. It's time for action. Everything we've done here, we've just done out of, like, we can't wait anymore. Every day that we're waiting, our children are being abused, and whether you know that you are part of the abuse or you've been advised to just use these dirty tactics, if you don't know now, you know. So question is what you're going to
Yeah.
do about it. Bernardus, I think this actually came up earlier when we were speaking. It's a tough question, but should have listened to people who warned me before marriage. You know, Bernardus, my my view on that, brother, is we can't live with shoulda, coulda, wouldas. We can We can only live with the decisions that we make. You know that they all have consequences, and how can we possibly know? When
Yeah,
two people meet each other and they decide to have children, or don't decide, the children just come, whatever the case may be. At some point in time, there was love involved. You
yeah,
don't go and sleep with someone that you hate. You don't have a child with someone that you hate.
yeah,
So
yeah,
don't beat yourself up about it. We can only just hope that people eventually open their eyes that you're hurting your children, and um, yeah, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back in some way, shape, or form. I know of kids that really they basically turn their backs on the alienated parent, or the alienating parent. They want no relationship because they realize what they've been robbed of. You know what I'm saying? Where the father's been alienated, and the child will now want nothing to do with the mother that has kept them from having that relationship. So mothers, watch that. This can turn on you as well. Don't think you'll have a hold on that child forever. Every alienated kid comes back at some point in their life and says, you know what, I wish I had made different decisions. But they have to live with that guilt of making that false accusations the entire life. And what quality of life is
yeah.
that?
And we mentioned it
uh
earlier, Dom. We said what goes around comes around, right?
yeah, karma, man. So be careful what you do
Karma,
to
yeah,
others. Yeah, it's not us that says that. It's in the Bible. It's everywhere. It's life. You
yeah.
can't get away with it, right? Bernardus says happy for Peggy. All right, meant Teggy. The show and platform
I got a
definitely
new
gives
name.
you
I got a new name, Teggy.
Bernardus. I'm glad it gives you new hope. It has to change. It will change.
Yeah,
We promise this year, with 365 lives like this, with parents coming on every day talking about it. How can you ignore it? How can you ignore that it's an epidemic? You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So thank you for that, Bananas. It also makes us feel great that we're moving in the right direction, and we won't stop moving. We won't stop moving.
yeah.
Anything else from your side there, Tegi, before we end off?
No, I think it was a great collaborative effort from both you, me, and the rest of the team that's assisting in the back end here. And I
Yeah.
just would like to say that thanks to the fathers and mothers that's sort of listening in to us and watching us through this live feed. Just take hope from the fact that there is people out there that's willing to listen to your situation and hoping that your situation changes in the coming days and months to come. But don't lose hope. I think that's my last message to everyone. Don't lose hope. There's help out there. All you have to do is just be vulnerable, open yourself up, speak up before it's too late. That's it, Dom. Thank you.
From me, exactly what Tegi said. Sorry, you on this side. I'll point to you. Exactly what Tegi said. All right. I have no more to add. We've got shows every day, and every day it goes in a new direction. Everyone's got a different story with the same shit that goes on. Um, but yeah, we united by pain, people. We'll see you tomorrow. Love you all.
Cheers. Bye bye, everybody.